Everywhere you go in the world, when you say you're from Austin, it means something. It means creativity, it means openness, it means vibrant culture and a beautiful environment. And more, it means to people around the world opportunity. We can't let the story of Austin be a tale of two cities. We enjoy one of the most prosperous economies in the nation, but nearly half the minority children in our city are living in poverty. We are losing people and whole communities, and with that, we are losing our city's soul. Today is the day that 10-1 begins.
The history of at-large in Austin started out with a bunch of rich white people who didn't want the Irish and the Swedes and the Germans to run this town 100 years ago because they were the minorities. But at-large maintained the power of money and whites.
We weren't like the large cities. The black population in Austin was small. So you really did not have what you'd call an active, and I don't mean in the negative sense of the word, but a militant population of black people here. They didn't know what the city council did that impacted their lives, and they could have cared less.
We were in a constant state of denial as a community about the disparities, political, economic, and social. And here we've been deluding ourselves into thinking that racism, discrimination do not exist.
The press, for decades, referred to the unofficial agreement, one Latino, one African American in the council, as a gentleman's agreement. And I saw nothing gentlemanly about that. It was cold, callous, and calculating.
And it was a gentleman's agreement that we're going to sponsor some African American man and some Hispanic man because they wanted the diversity.
Okay, you can have one Hispanic and one African American, no more. And that's basically what it became. Okay, you guys know your place, literally.
So there were pig people who were sort of embraced by the establishment, and they had very few folks who were going to go against those interests, and that's why it maintained itself for so long, in my opinion.
I was explaining this electoral system to editorial writers from around the country, and some of them literally did Danny Thomas spit takes. What? How does that work? How do you enforce it? We said, well, sort of understood. Everybody kind of buys into it. So obviously, there was a dark art developed of keeping the opponent's voters at home and turning your people out. And it worked to the benefit of the people who controlled the votes to keep this system in place. Their candidates kept getting elected. And their candidates kept getting elected because people, by and large, ignored city elections. We have a scandalously low voter turnout and have had a history of that for, I don't know, forever.
It finally dawned on the good people from Northwest Austin and Southwest Austin and South Austin that they weren't getting representation at City Council.
7 city councils before 10-1 came in had no one from South Austin, where 40% of the population lives.
The council had this patina of egalitarianism to it, but unless you were in with the in crowd, you didn't stand a chance.
A whole bunch of us fought like tigers to try to get geographic representation because what we knew from other cities, you got stability with geographic representation because some districts were going to be conservative, Judy, some districts were going to be progressive, and some districts were going to be swing.
I think for us, we were committed to changing this system, so nothing really bothers us. We had a faith at the time it was right.
We didn't have a hell of a lot of money. We had 900 volunteers, 175,000 door hangers, 100 signs. And that was what the campaign was about. So we reach out to Hispanic activists and African American activists, and then we work out legitimate neighborhood activists who had all the fun they can stand with a council that's elected, you know, from 10% of the population and all live in the same neighborhood where they can hold council meetings on their front porch by yelling at each other. We sent delegations to all the council members and said, here's the deal. You put our position on there by vote or we put it on there by petition, pick one. But we're putting this on the ballot. It's going to get voted on.
Austin voters have approved a new way for the city to govern, with Proposition 3 trumping Prop 4.
Therefore, the city charter will be amended to elect council members from 10 geographical districts.
Democracy, people need to have representation. That's what democracies are all about, is representation. They need to have somebody on the council that they can talk to, that they feel is their representative. So 10.1 will allow for that. People will now have more direct access to their representative.
It really does give power to people who maybe thought they didn't have that ability to have that control in the past. Now, with just a little bit of shoe leather and a little bit of gumption and a small amount of fundraising from your friends, you're actually able to get elected.
The at-large elections, there was a long and well-worn indexed playbook how you get there. We're making it up as we go along. What's the model? And with 70 some odd candidates in the race, Lord knows, there's going to be a lot of bumping into furniture.
There's this brand new element in town of single-member districts, and it's going to be a whole new way of life.
Or with 72 candidates.
78?
78, okay. See, I've already forgotten. And I was supposed to keep track of all of them. There was a while I just completely lost track. There were so many. And they were getting in it because they thought, oh boy, I'll run for city council. That's easy.
I think there's going to be, more theater, more drama. I think we can count on that.
Every candidate has a different story. They didn't take the same path. They didn't have the same background, the same campaign strategy, the same campaign goals or message. They're all different.
I think I really do reflect the frustration and a lot of the anger of the voters in the suburbs that have been ignored for decades.
I have lived in Austin for a very long time, and I have seen the good, the bad, and the not so pretty side of Austin government and how it treats historic East Austin.
I'm planning to be the first Mexican-American woman ever elected to city council.
It's a really historic time in the city. We have fundamental change, and it's not a time for amateurs.
I'm not a politician. I've never run for office before, but I feel really passionately about the issues that city council decides.
Ms. Gallo.
This gives me an opportunity to represent the people and the neighborhoods that I've grown up in and raised my kids in and worked in.
All right, Wyatt, you want to help me too? A lot of my opponents don't have kids, they don't have families, and so my kids are pretty cute, and my wife's pretty good looking, so they make me look good.
I'm an African-American male in a same-sex relationship. I've been with the same partner for 16 years. We lived in the same house here in Austin 14 years, and I own a gun store. If that does not give you diversity, I don't know what does.
My family has been in East Austin for 5 generations. If not for the protests, the activism, all of that, then we couldn't have even gotten here. The important thing is that I'm not the only one who gets those opportunities. Bring all those opportunities to the community. I want them to have the same opportunities.
She's not a politician. She's not, somebody who wants to run for higher office in the future. She's somebody who wants to be a civic servant and somebody who wants to make the lives of people in District 1, but also Austin, better.
All of the people that I know that are on the campaign trail, I think have a desire to see Austin be a whole Austin and not pieces of Austin. And I think this is the first step in having that happen. I really am excited.
She's definitely become much more technologically savvy since the campaign has progressed. We definitely have her plugged into a lot of systems that she wouldn't have been before. But again, it's about that communication.
Because I need your vote, Mr. Gray. You've known me a long time. Where are you fixing to go? You got a girlfriend? I know you 86.
How many canvassers are we getting in? How many volunteers are we getting in? And does that 45 extra hours of door knocking even exist?
We sort of turned my living room into this war room where folks can stay until 2 or 3 in the morning and have a good time and feel like we're part of a team and part of a mission, and that's really what's driven this entire campaign. I'm very hopeful and optimistic, and maybe I've built that optimism so that I can get through this campaign. If it's my first time campaigning, I'm still getting used to that.
There's a bunch of people who moved into our district just because they are politically ambitious. I don't know, I just thought it'd be interesting to get the other longtime residents of District 4 together and tell the story from our side. District 4, our race has 4 candidates who moved into our district just to run, and we want to see somebody elected from District 4 who understands the district firsthand, who's worked in the district and been active.
I think we all knew from the beginning that we had carpetbaggers amongst us, people who had moved in only to run. But the reality is that they have priorities that are not District 4.
They're not saying anything new. This has been said for months since the first forums. But folks don't, some of my opponents don't like the fact that I'm a renter. They don't like the fact that I'm young, and they don't like the fact that I've earned the lion's share of endorsements and raised the most money in this race, even though I'm relatively new to town, but so many folks in my district. My district is renters. My district is younger families.
Hello, and thanks for joining us for Civic Summit, District 3.
First, I want to say I'm not running against my brother. My brother's running against me. I announced in January, and he announced in May, so I want to make sure that the audience gets that correct.
Well, what I've learned in this campaign is that it is a lot of work.
You know, it's actually really impressive in a field of 12 candidates. Pio was out knocking on doors, talking to voters himself, going to all kinds of events, and, without a professional campaign team.
Why don't we meet at the corner of Tillery and 4th?
At Brooks?
Yeah, at Brook.
Okay.
Because there's houses here.
Vote for Sabino Pio Renteria. Vote for Sabino Pio Renteria. Please don't play the old game of TV and radio ads with slick campaign mailers.
I think a lot of people get tied up in commercials, radio stations, and don't actually focus on talking to people and answering their questions at the door. And Pio was just like, listen, forget everything else. We're going to go door to door and just knock. And Pio would literally disappear for 2 or 3 hours. And I come back and where are you? And he's like, oh, I was just kind of down those streets, just kind of knocking and talking to people.
He was one of the very few candidates, maybe the only candidate. He really was grassroots. They didn't raise much money, but he's been involved in neighborhood politics for so long, everybody knew who he was.
Early voting has started. Go out and vote. It broke my heart because I knew my sister was running, but I said, golly, I had to do it.
He was helping me with my campaign at the beginning. And somewhere in time, he began to think, well, maybe he might want to run.
It's very hard, but we always had our differences.
What? I couldn't believe it myself. And I said, you're going to run against me?
I said, listen, I'm not going to go after your voters. I'm going to go after people that support me.
I just look at him as one of the other men that are running against me.
I know as soon as it's over, we'll still be back, family together. Just we have to, just wait it out.
I'm running for Austin City Council. One thing, we have now the chance to raise the voices and the voter turnout in our communities. Traditionally, they said East Austin has not come out and voted so much. So what we're really going to show is that now there are community people running, and that somebody, all right, thanks, recognizes what are the issues that they see every day. And in that sense, there's never been anyone. You've had people who just come during the elections or certain events, they say hello, they come and eat. It's very hard for them to promote or understand the everyday issues in those communities. In that sense, it's very historical.
Vote para Susana Almanza.
No, Susana. For Susana.
Yeah, there's 78 candidates running. That means there's gonna be 67 losers.
Yeah.
You gotta feel good about yourself when you get done with this campaign. I mean, just the odds are against most of us winning.
Yeah, I've done a lot of block walking in Barton Hills and Zilker now. People are just mad.
I think it's going to be important to do some kind of old school campaigning of just meeting people and talking to them.
But I didn't realize that the same power brokers were making all the decisions.
There's a lot of people, there's a small number of people that are pulling some strings behind the scenes, and yeah, their influence is big.
You definitely see that old school mentality of the last election that we had. Those power players still trying to hold on. And in the end, it really goes against everything that TURNOUT is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about neighborhoods and communities electing someone that they feel represents what their district needs and what Austin needs.
They both are trying to get 6 people on the council so that they can make sure they can have the policies that they want
to be passed to go put forward.
There was a small number of people who were involved in making campaigns happen, because what we knew was that when those folks were running, that we were running these campaigns in May, there was only 50,000 votes that we really had to worry about. And we knew who was voting, because they were the same people that came out and voted every year, and we had records of them. We could go out and we could touch those voters.
I'm surprised that one got in, because it's
Pretty
way
fast.
out there. Yeah. Del Valley.
I've been busy.
And let's see, what's that one?
446, 425.
425, oh yeah. Well, that's deep south, and that's over, I believe, east of I-35.
As long as people are going to vote, no matter what the system is, David's a talented political mind. He's going to succeed in whatever kind of system it is. It's not about any sort of secret formula or secret sauce that he doesn't share. He's really good at this.
It's only 300 votes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He knows the history. He knows how to get votes. He knows how to get endorsements. And that will always be important.
It's not that I think, oh God, 10-1, it's going to ruin the earth. I'm not going to have any ability to do anything. If you have any political, nature to you, an instinct, you can maneuver through just about any system that exists.
So anyway, I'm going to look at some of these precincts and just see what it tells me, if anything.
I'm sure if we'd gone to some sort of parliamentarian system of government based on some Greek Athenian system of voting with rocks, he would have figured out, well, we got to have more people with more rocks over here. I mean, he would have figured it out.
Whatever the system is, people like me can figure out how to play.
It's actually somebody that lives in the neighborhood that knows what's going on. It's not like someone's in Westlake trying to speak for what's happening at 7th and Pleasant Valley. It kind of makes it a better race, a more interesting council, since it's divided up into different districts. I kind of like that.
A lot of folks have been trying to crystal ball this thing, and really, I think nobody has any idea.
I think that the important thing is that people are getting engaged.
I feel fine with whatever happens because we laid it all out. We did everything, 100%. Win, lose, runoff. I feel fulfilled about what we did.
This line, this is how it's looked practically all day.
Finally have the big day come, and we're 2 hours away from starting to see the results of, months worth of work.
All you need is your picture ID. Good looking as you are, they'll let you vote it with a smile. District 1 City Council, me.
I've just decided I'm going to do the same speech. Just the first sentence and the last sentence are going to be different, regardless of what happens.
We're trying to get a tally as to who's leaving and when. We haven't had anyone depart yet. That'll be good. She said they're scanning as fast as they can. So it's the scanning issue. Right, they're still processing.
Whatever precincts that you have kind of waiting, just have the sheriff go ahead and grab them and come in right now.
Okay, bye-bye. What's happening? What is happening?
You got a good lead in early vote.
Well, but it's a matter of keeping it that way.
We found out that Greg has a nice lead with early voting, and we're all watching the results, and people are trickling in who support his campaign, and there's a lot of good energy going on.
We're just sitting here waiting. I'm here at the county clerk's office. Are y'all having fun? Shelton, when we get a few precincts in, like if we could get just like 250 and 152, I'll be able to tell, depending on your percentage, I'll be able to tell how you're going to do.
Run one, you can coast now. Run one, you can coast. We're happy. We're happy that we have a good lead growing from the early voting and mail-in voting. I never thought that I would be running for city council. And so it wasn't because I wanted to run, it was because I thought it was necessary for people in East Austin, Northeast Austin, and Southeast Austin to have representation, have somebody that would speak up for the needs of the people in District 1.
We knew it was going to be a long night from the beginning. We're really dealing with, in many respects, the birth of a new political system in the purest of ways, in that we have a new electorate, a new demographic, a new everything. And so we're trying to figure out where the predicted data is going to come in, and it's fun. It's exciting.
It's really the same. I mean, nothing has changed. I mean, it's been business as usual. We have the kingmakers controlling our elections, and the general voters, they have no clue that all this is going on in the background.
This time, with so many people, so limited resources, it really was up to the kingmakers to influence who got elected.
I thought that a city this size wouldn't have such a small group that was so influential.
There are about 25 people that you have to meet with. No, there are no ifs, ands, or buts. No pun intended, but there are about 25 people.
It's part of a loser's mythology that David Butts is pulling all the strings. It's simply not true. I mean, it's silly. There were a handful of people who spent a big lot of money on this huge statesman ad, $20,000, $22,000. It was a fake coalition. It was three rich guys working through some anonymous poor schnook who they kicked in all this money and said, vote against David Butts as candidate.
Well, the truth is that under the at-large system, David's support was the absolute equivalent of being chosen.
They're the ones that are elected to that office, not me. Now, I can tell them I don't like something that they've done, and that may mean I don't support them next time.
He didn't support you, you couldn't be on city council. And he had marched his way through a whole string of those for 20 years.
The notion that's